You're about to make a trade. Which you do you listen to? Is it get optioning those options? Or let's do a little research. Learn more at finra.org/trade smart.
People that I know that do reality TV, that produce it, like, dude, they can make you look any way they want. What a cool adventure for, a guy in his 60s. It's probably a bad decision. I was doing it more for the tacos than the date. I was on a date and I said to the girl, I called her a girl, and she was like, spent the next 90 minutes talking about, I'm a lady or I'm a woman. I said, I understand. I have full respect. You know what I said to her, which I think I liked? We talk more and more about less and less and forget the love we bring. If I say girl, really? You give me a hard time? I mean, when did life become so complicated?
Shawn French, what up? This one luck, I let the pain inspire me. I put my all in everything I'm doing. Up until it's done, I'm me for the entirety. I put it in overtime, I be working. Just know I'ma go for mine, cause I earned it. They watching, I know it's time. I confirmed it. A whole society determined.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. I got a spicy one today for you guys. I have Mark O'Brien here from season 1 of the very first Bravo competitive dating show called Love Hotel. This dude is dynamic. He's awesome. He's in phenomenal shape. He's a stud. And we're going to hear about his experience on the show, as well as get into some other things that he's gone through in his life to get him to where he is today. So without further ado, Mark, my man, welcome to the show.
Shawn, thank you for having me. And spicy, boy, but you're setting me up for like a big letdown. I don't know how spicy it was other than the tacos, but.
Well, I mean, tacos are spicy, right? I mean, they're good. I mean, but if you look at the premise of the show, the way they sold it was, I think it said 4 horny housewives, check into Love Hotel. And then here you are with all these other men. What was that like, man? Because that, to me, like, dude, when I look at all these dating shows, you're taking somebody that it is a professional in normal everyday life like you, right? You've been a builder, you've been so many different things, and now you're on display on national TV and one of the channels that, in my opinion, has the biggest reality stars on the planet. How was it for you getting into that environment and becoming kind of exposed to the public a little bit, right?
I needed a drink, and that's vodka, not water.
I love it. Absolutely. When in Rome, baby.
I watched the show kind of like with one eye closed. So look, I mean, I had the whole gamut of people saying, poor judgment, dude. Why would you do that? Like, you had a good follower. I got, almost 400,000 followers for, brownstone restoration. I call myself sort of the accidental influencer. My kids are like, Dad, what? How did you become an influencer? I was like, am I an influencer? I don't know. What does that mean? I'm like a caveman. And then from that, I get phone calls to do this show. They said 4 very successful, well-established, beautiful women, spicy. I don't know if they said spicy, but I was like, nah, I don't know. That's not my thing. And then, I thought about it and I thought, well, why not? My motto that I sort of used as a training tool, as harsh or nasty as it might be, is just fucking do it. JFD, I used to write it on the board and I'd stick it in front of one of my guys when I had an executive search business and they were trying to figure everything out before they make that call. Then they make the call and guess what? It's busy. This is back before we had email and stuff like that, or they don't pick up. So just do it. Just see what happens. Have the experience.
When it comes to what your family eats and drinks, your choices matter. You're the expert because you know what fits your life. And getting it right starts with good information. That's why America's beverage companies are sharing more information about our ingredients at goodtoknowfacts.org. No spin, no judgments, just the facts straight from the experts for more than 140 beverage ingredients. Visit goodtoknowfacts.org.
Have the guy, hang up on you and then call him back and say, like, I'm sorry, don't be disrespected. So, go for it. JFDI. And that's ultimately, I thought, because they came after me a couple of times, they said, I think you'll enjoy it. It's a beautiful resort. It's 3 weeks essentially. It shot 3 weeks in September. I've never done anything like that, and I've finally said, yeah, why not? Like, what a cool adventure for a guy in his 60s, and I'm doing it. I was doing it more for the tacos than the date. I mean, I was excited to see how it plays out. Reality TV. So all of a sudden, I'm in front of the camera doing stuff, and my whole ethos is you get what you see. Like I'm a C student. I was never I've made plenty of bad decisions in my past, but I've learned from them. So I viewed it as, yeah, it's probably a bad decision. Guys, people that I know that do reality TV, that produce it, like, dude, they can make you look any way they want. So I talked to them about that. I kind of said, look, if you have me do any stupid shit, I'll leave. I don't care. And they're probably like, well, you're going to sign a contract. I was like, I don't care. I've got a lawyer on staff practically. I should have a lawyer on staff. So anyway, and it was great. I met great guys. All the guys were just great, really fun, funny. The women, which by the way, I would call them girls. And one of the guys was like, they're ladies, they're girls. I mean, they're ladies, they're women. I was like, okay, sorry. And I got into a long conversation with this guy that gave me a hard time. And we're all about the same age. I was one of the older people. It was me and one other guy, Ralph, who is like the lover boy, who were the same age. And everyone else is like 40s, 35 up to 40s and 50. So it's a pretty good range of age range. But I was telling him a story that recently I was on a date, and I said to the girl, I called her a girl, and she was like, spent the next 90 minutes talking about, I'm a lady or I'm a woman. I said, I understand. I have full respect. It's just, my generation, or I don't know, I'm just sort of unfiltered and, but like read the room. Like there's like, I thought of it because it was driving me crazy. It was two things. I said, I grew up very Catholic, so I'd go to church, and I'd see a lot of people that go to church. I went to church with my parents. Wasn't my thing, but I was respectful to my parents, and I saw more assholes, bad people show up at church, and people that wouldn't go to church that were super nice people. So I think that's I just I'm on this little bit of a tangent because it's sort of important to me. I'm on this show. I am who I am. I'm a good guy. I'm nice. I'm respectful. I said girls, and and it just reminded me of that 90-minute argument with this date. And you know what I said to her, which I think I liked. I'm a big Deadhead. I love the Grateful Dead. And I said, we talk, there's a Grateful Dead song called Althea. The last line of the song is, we talk more and more about less and less and forget the love we bring. And it's just they were great writers. Garcia, Hunter, people may have mixed emotions about the Grateful Dead, but it was, long-standing, going on 60-year anniversary. Anyway, I just thought that kind of said it all about. So when I went there and I heard that right off the bat on Love Hotel, I'm thinking, oh man, is this going to be like a politically correct, read the room. I'm respectful. It's fully respectful. And if I say girl, really? You give me a hard time? I mean, like, why? When did life become so complicated? It's just just relax, have fun. And that's what I was trying to do. Just be there to have fun. Was I looking for love? Look, I'm divorced, 13 years married, 13 years divorced, still battling, still ugly. We don't want to talk about that, but
I don't think you're very ugly. Thank
you. I was calling it the Loveless Hotel because I was just like, I don't know. I don't think this is going to work, but I'm going to have fun. And I did. And everyone was great. Still friends. Like Shannon's daughter lives around the corner. And so whenever she's in town, we get together. Luann and I have been out a couple times. I don't want to tell you this, but I want to tell you the spoiler. You have to stay tuned. But she kicks me out, actually, and then I come back. And
no way.
Yeah. And that actually just happened Yes, man, I'm confused because it's the long holiday, but with a long weekend. But I didn't even watch it. I've watched one. The first one was the only one I watched. And again, with like one eye closed, people were like, "Oh, well, you were probably watching the Knick game." It's like, no, I wasn't watching the Knick game either.
That's almost worse.
I was at, yeah, that's right. I was at, where was I? Flatiron Room watching a blues band at Flatiron Room, and wondering why it was kind of dead. And I said to my friend, I think it's because the Knicks are playing and Love Hotel is on. They're either watching the Knicks or Love Hotel. Both were successful. The Knicks won, and I'm coming back.
Coming back. You know, it's interesting to me because I've had conversations with multiple people who have been on reality shows, you know, mostly Love is Blind on Netflix, right? And the one thing that they've experienced is once there's a moment, right, to where maybe post-production paints them in a certain light, leaves things out, right? I mean, it's crafting a narrative. It's entertainment, right? But
when did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
These individuals can, you know, receive a lot of public scrutiny to the point where everybody makes this public opinion like that's who you are. And they fire off at him on social media. And it almost becomes this massive echo chamber. I guess bullying is, I mean, cyberbullying, I guess, but someone very close to me to this day, anytime he speaks out on something, they bring up some old shit just because he said no at the altar. And quite honestly, I think there's more to that, right? I think that they did know that he didn't want to go to the altar. I think they did know that it was going to be a no for him, not no to the woman, but no at that time. And so my whole point of the whole thing is when you go on these reality shows, you are honestly exposing yourself to a certain narrative. How did you work through that, or have you experienced any of that in the early goings of the episodes that you've been in?
Yeah, no, that's the whole crux of it, is that it can come back to bite you. And do you want to? And look, again, I'm like, I hang glide, I mountaineer, I rock climb, I do a lot of stupid shit that could go ugly. But when I get the butterflies in my stomach to being, you know, terrified and hanging on a cliff and, you know, hang gliding and the wind drops and you drop, 200 feet. That's the thrill. I love that. It's a little sick, but I think that's why I like restoring old houses, why I built waterfront properties, why I moved my 5 kids to New Zealand. I just love the adrenaline rush. So I look at that like, bring it on. You know, it's a little bit like bring it on. I've been, divorced, ugly divorce. My daughter at 11 had cancer. She's totally fine now, but it's like horrible shit where you're like, I didn't know how to spell divorce. Cancer, like that doesn't happen. That happens to other people, and sad. But when it happens, wow, holy shit. It just, man, it's, so whatever. I'm 60 something and, bring it on. Like people are trying to poke at me. Love it. Like I just, you can't, you're not going to hurt me. No one's going to hurt me. Like, because I've been there, I've been hurt, I've been hit, I've been bashed. I've had businesses that were super successful and then fell off a cliff. So, you try to manage it. I talked to the producer and say, now look, I'm leaving. If you have me doing any stupid shit. And they did. They had me dance. I'm like, I don't want to dance. Like, no one wants to see an old white guy dance. So, but I was whatever. How
did that work out for you? Did you bust a move? What did it look like?
No, it wasn't. I'm like, you could cut that out for sure. No, it was fine. It was fine. It's
funny because, you're talking about a lot of different things of, basically around the theme of risk, right? And I can relate, man, because when I started this show, 4.5 years ago, one of the biggest things I was worried about was how the public would perceive me, take small clips of conversations and then peanut butter that whole perception to my whole being, right? And what I found is it's a lot less scarier when you're in it, right? Because you're able to do so much and communicate in so many different ways to where hopefully that doesn't happen. But most recently, I was on Piers Morgan Uncensored. I've been on it twice. The first time, like, that was my first taste, Mark, of actual hate. Like, actual.
People were hating on you, or you were getting pissed off at
no, I was no. I'm very mild mannered, when I'm dealing with situations on camera and debates and things like that. But the fallout for me was I was getting torched on X, which the Twitter, but X, and then YouTube. And the thing that I said that people twisted to points, even like making jokes about my wife and all that stuff was, it was about, the show Adolescence, right? It was about misogyny versus masculinity and all that kind of stuff. And there was one gentleman on there saying that, the woman needs to be staying at home, caring for the children and making sure they grow up okay and not out working. Why would you want anybody else raising your kids than your wife? And I made a comment. I was like, me personally, I love the fact that my wife is a teacher. I love the fact that she's out there giving back to the kids in the community and teaching them Spanish and seeing her be successful in her own right? She's gone from, being one of the top mortgage professionals in the world to one of the best salespeople in the world. And she took this opportunity in order to provide a better education for our children and put them in a school that was top notch in the area. Right. And
that, but people take it and they twist it.
Oh, they twisted the shit out of it, man. There was one person that says, quote from Shawn French, "I also want like my wife getting D'd down by another man." And I was like, holy shit, like this right here, I've never witnessed it. And for the first 20 minutes, I remember where I was. I was at a lacrosse game with my wife, and she was watching some of her students, and I was mortified. Yeah. Like, Mark, I was literally mortified that people were saying these things about me, about her, and how I was a covert feminist and like all these weird things, which I am not, right? But they perceived me in such a way that I got so much public hate. And I called my publicist. I'm like, what do I do about this? And she goes, nothing. Welcome to fame. Yeah. I'm like, damn. And so that point right there for me, like I can appreciate the risk of going on a reality show or going on to something like that because, I've experienced it, and it took me 4.5 years to experience that type of hate. And to the point where the second time I went on, I was expecting bad shit to come afterwards, and it never did. Right. But dude, like,
because you're not a bad guy, because you're a good guy. No. Right. So look, I think the truth never dies, right? Truth never dies. So if you're a bad guy and you say something, you slip, you're trying your best to be on your best behavior. Something slips, chances are people are going to realize, there's other things in the history that kind of connect dots to being a bad guy. But it should work when you're a good guy and when you're honest and you're real. And if something gets twisted, it's because, look at the news, right? It's all about opinions, less about facts. And it's become a blurred line between opinions and facts. And so I don't even watch the news. I actually never really did, like, read the paper. And I used to get criticized. Oh, you're going to be a giant businessman. You got to be up on current events. I'm like, why? It's just, it took me a long time to realize that it's the same cycles, just go over and over and over again. And same drama, same bullshit, whether it's politics or just, these days it's really gotten crazy because of social media. So it's taking a whole new turn. But yeah, I just try to not get involved in it as well. So that's kind of whenever I get something negative on mine, I was throwing snowballs off my roof on social media. I went up to do something about, development and construction and building, and it was snowing. There was like 4 inches of snow, and I packing a snowball, and I see somebody run by, and It turned into like, it went like viral. Like I forget how many million, like 6 million views or something like that. So funny. And some people would be like, that's really dangerous. You could hurt someone. I'm like, I'm sorry. What do you say? So I don't say anything. I just like, or I just say, yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be mean. I was, I didn't mean, it was just fun. I was lobbing them. I wasn't packing them. There was one that I packed. I got carried away.
Packed it really hard, huh?
I was talking, there were two guys walking right over here and I whipped it. And I just wasn't even thinking, most of them I was lobbing and, I was throwing them hard at cars, like whatever. And then with people and this one and whipped it and it went right in between these two guys. And they looked up at me like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, sorry, dude. Like,
it's crazy. We all do things that, are borderline. Okay. Why the hell did I do that? But the thing that I want to really bring home here in this particular part of the conversation is I think everybody, right, that in this world, they have the right to live their life the way they want to. Like, I don't judge people that believe that their wife should stay home. Hey, if it works for you and your wife's happy and the kids are taken care of, like, do you, right? But to get on a social platform and just destroy somebody for how they showed up in a certain moment, right? Or how you perceive that certain moment, to me is just freaking ridiculous. And, reality TV can do that, man. And if you haven't dealt with it much yet with the show, that's incredible because, like I said, man, I know people that have just been absolutely destroyed. Oh, dude, it impacts their every move. Imagine, on Love Hotel, as it progresses or whatever, there's something said or an action, and that the cohort of people view that as you, and everything that you put out from that point on, they tie it back to that one experience. It could have been 5 years ago, but like, that's the risk, man. But to your point, so what? Bring it, right? It's about growth. How did the show, or how is the show helping you as you watch it back and you reflect on you being there? Is there ways that it's helped you grow in perspective or anything like that?
I'd say, like, if I was asked to do it again, would I do it? And I probably wouldn't, because it's like a one-off. Like, I wanted to check it out. So I think it's bolstered my feelings and my confidence. Try everything. I don't know how to say no. So I'll try most anything. I'll get into the two things I haven't tried, but maybe that's for after we hang up, or I'll get some hate. I'll get some hate mail. But yeah, so I think it just made me realize that, yeah, this is, this life is short, and it's getting shorter and shorter for me. So why not? I'm in my 60s. I've done so many cool things, from, having 5 children to moving to New Zealand, living on the water, sailing to Newport, Rhode Island, to Bermuda, mountaineering, so it's just, and I'm not a bucket list kind of guy at all. It's just like, it came my way. And if I said no, this is how I look at it. If I said no, I don't want to do it. Always asking yourself, what if? Well, what if I did go on that show? Maybe I would have found love. Maybe I would have found which I never really, that was the least of my desires or fears. Maybe it was a fear than anything that I would find true love. So I just think I think of what if. I think of going through life asking, oh, I really should have pulled the trigger on that. I've got one thing that I did in my life that I should have done when I was in college. And a friend of mine, Mike Switek, had an uncle in Mexico that had a coffee bean farm. And I had my grandfather's old Malibu with like a Grateful Dead sticker on it, and red rail with this bar down the road, and, classic 1981. And he's like, let's go to my uncle's farm for the summer and work on the farm. And we'll take your car, we'll drive. And I was like, love that. And I decided against it because we would get a house at Belmar, New Jersey, right? We get a house every summer. Me and my buddies, we'd have a blast. but we basically get drunk every weekend and run around on the beach and, do stupid shit. And I missed out. And it was just another year of doing stupid shit on, in Belmar or Killington, Vermont. We'd go to Killington to Belmar, Killington to Belmar, Killington, and then bang, hey, why don't we go to Mexico and work on a bean farm? We'll drive. It'll be like, on the road. And I said, nah, and I wanted to. And I said no, because my buddies were like, come on, we're going to have a blast, and I did the same old thing. So that's the one thing I regret in my life looking back. There's probably other things, but that stands out. And so if I didn't do this Love Hotel, would I be like really regret it? Probably not that bad, but why not? Why not? Because you're afraid that you're going to get canceled. Cancel me. I don't care. I've been canceled before. Before we knew how to spell cancel, right? I had a kick-ass executive search business that fell off a cliff, but because of that catapulted me into building homes. I had kick-ass building business, decided to move to New Zealand with my wife and 5 kids. We got divorced when we were there, so just fell off a cliff. Came back, built something on the water. I put it on the market for $12 million, sold it for $7 million. So fell off a cliff again. But you never give up and find your next adventure. Yeah, I live for adventure. You know what? If they twist it, because I know I'm not going to do anything stupid. I mean, maybe a little bit relatively, but I'm not going to. I'm confident in who I am and that I'm a good person. And so if they want to twist it, the truth always never dies. The truth never dies. So the truth will eventually come out. It might take time and it might be too late, but then I'm on to something else. So what's after this? 400,000 followers dropped down to 0. People said to me, how are your followers? I said, I think I lost a few. Really, all the guys on the show were not, they weren't doing social media. They didn't know how to spell social media or Instagram. And so they're all about it. And it's kind of cute and funny. They're like, how do I do this? I was like, I don't know.
It's new, right? It's new for them.
Yes. And it's, so it's kind of fun to watch. And so for me though, like, have your followers really taken off? I was like, no, I really think that I've lost some. And because of that reason, you just told your story. Like, why would this guy go on a dating show? What a loser, or whatever they think, and think what you're going to think. I did it for the adventure, for the fun, for the tacos.
Well, I think it's commendable, right? Because you mentioned you've sailed from Rhode Island to, I think you said Bermuda, right? Like all these different things. You've hung off cliffs. You've built businesses. You went on a dating show. I think life, when you break it down, man, to the simplest form, it's not about a bucket list, right? We want to live life in such a way that we create experiences for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, man, that's how we get the most out of ourselves. That's how we grow as human beings, is to experience things that may be outside the norm, right? Again, when I started this, they're like, who the hell are you? Like, what are you actually trying to prove here? Why are you doing this? And for me, if I look back, and I was telling my friends, and I sent the video to a couple people, I looked at my first YouTube podcast that I published, and it was mortifying. I was god awful. It was terrible. My speech pattern sucked. I couldn't even do an intro. There was too many breaks in my speech. I was stuttering, all that kind of stuff. And I would imagine if I'm those people watching at that time go, I was right, he sucks. But then you just keep going, you keep experiencing more things, you talk to more people, then you refine it, right? But again, what I want the audience to really understand is don't be afraid to do something that's completely outside of your box, because you do not know the outcome. You do not know how much it can help you grow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's, it's sort of how I operate, is that, I'm a thrill seeker, right? Like I love, I love hang gliding. It's shit that people just don't do. And people say, oh, I hang glide too. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, let me guess. They're tandem, they'll do a tandem hang glide. But to actually get and learn and spend a whole summer to get your license and learn how to jump, run off a cliff and fly like a bird. So I look at that and say that was such a cool thing that lasted for 4-6 years of my life. This dating show, it's just fun. Like, just have fun. I don't know when we became so precious and so protected and guarded. Well, I mean, I do know when we did that because, well, it happened when my generation at least started padding the playgrounds. So it was heaven forbid that Johnny falls off the swing and cuts his or breaks his arm, or, when I was a kid, everybody was in a cast. It was a badge of honor. I want to sign my name on your cast and say something stupid on your cast. And now, no one's ever got a cast anymore because we're all, we got our headgear and our protective eye gear and our earplugs. And, it's funny. I saw a friend, who was it, that had their kid at like a concert and they had big ear things on. So come on. I don't know. Just relax. We've got so uptight. Jesus Christ. It's really pathetic. And I've got 5 kids that are stuck in it. So I just tell my kids, be nice, be nice to people, be honest, be good people, and be interesting. Do cool shit. Work hard, be nice, and do cool shit. Whatever that means to you, whether it's being an artist or being a hedge fund person. None of my kids are hedge fund people. They're all C students also, which is torture. Poor kids.
I was a C student too, man. I mean, God, if it wasn't for baseball, I don't know if I would have made it through college.
Really? Well,
I mean, I had to graduate, right? I had to have at least the C to play, because like those values weren't really instilled in me when I was a child. It was like, do you have homework? I'm like, yeah, no. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no.
My kids walk into the house and my wife says, hey, do you have homework? They're like, no, let me see your binder.
Right.
Like on it. Right. But she comes from a third world country. She grew up in, she's born and raised Quito, Ecuador. So it's like education for her was her way to get to the States. So, completely different ideologies. But, I want to go back to the thrill seeking thing, right? Because you've done a lot of cool thrill seeking things. In the adrenaline aspect of hang gliding, which, dude, I'm sorry, that's batshit crazy. I'll never skydive. I'll never do anything like that because I'm just not willing to take that risk. Like for me, I'm good. And that's one fear I'm not willing to get over, right? But I respect the people that do. But when you look at all those thrills and all that adrenaline, how did the filming of the show and going on to it, did any of that type of adrenaline translate to the show, or was it just kind of whatever to you?
Sure. I would talk a bit about the, I get butterflies in my stomach the first moment when we walked out, and, I think everybody was nervous. And, I think that's the adrenaline pumping through your body, which for that to happen, as we get older, I think that's cool. I think it's great to do things that scare you and that, are an adventure. So yeah, I was, butterflies, I'd be nervous, be like, I felt like a kid going on a date. And I'll say, I did realize something about myself on this show. The more we talk, the more things kind of open up. And I realized I like to be in control. So I kept saying to the producers, I know what I want to do. I want to go. And I'd be all excited. I'd be like, can you guys get some paddle boards and or a sailboat? And like, if you want to bring a camera guy, and they must have been like, what? Who do you think you are? What do you think? We're not going to get a sailboat or paddle boards. We got $1,000. The necklaces, by the way, that we were wearing are the microphone, and so they're all crazy with, if it goes in the water, you're paying for it. So I actually at one point was jumping from table to table. You know how they have in these resorts tables in the pool, and I was jumping from table to table. They're like, "Stop! You're going to fall in." I was like, "I'm not going to fall in. I guarantee I won't fall in." Anyway, I digress. So I felt like the nerves and the excitement was a little bit like hang gliding or mountaineering. And like, why? Like the memories typically, and this might be opposite. The memories typically, like mountaineering, are better after the event. While you're doing it, you're saying, "Why am I doing this? I have a headache. I can't breathe. I'm freezing cold." And then the memories are great. Love Hotel, and your version of it could be, the memories were pretty cool. I mean, it was kind of fun, and but then the backlash and how they, how people perceive you. Maybe I'll start getting, maybe the memories won't be as good, but Yeah. I feel like a memory is a memory, whether it's a good memory or a bad memory. It's a memory, and you learn from it. Maybe you shift a little bit, but yeah, it's. I don't see any downside. So, people will try. The trolls will try to poke you, but I don't see any.
Oh, they sure will, man.
Yeah,
they're out there. They're out there, bro.
And also with hang gliding, you could die hang gliding. That's why I stopped. I had 2 friends get killed flying into trees and shit. But Love
Jesus.
Hotel, like it's Love Hotel. It's stupid. It's stupid, silly shit. And if people think it's poor judgment, good, fair.
Yeah,
some of my most fun events come from poor judgment. So
it's a good point, right? It's a good point. I don't think it's bad judgment. I think like, again, we go back to experiences, right? And the nerves and the butterflies, before the dates and things like that. Did any of those impact your ability to be you completely? And you go back to, and you're like, man, I could have been myself more in this situation here. And a lot of times, right, when we're in those situations, we're not ourselves. We're saying what we think people want to hear instead of just being truly who we are. Can you think of anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, that was the most difficult part. And I think that was the point I was trying to make. And I got sidetracked a little bit with, me trying to create my own date, but they had all of the dates set up. They knew exactly where you're going on your date. It's just a matter of who's going with who. And they had the whole setup because they had to have cameras. And I get it. The production for that was massive. It was impressive, the amount of production that goes into shooting this. So that was cool. That was even fun for me to see. I mean, you would appreciate it as well, being, in front of a camera to see what these big networks, Peacock, Bravo, see the kind of money they spend on the back end to pull it all together is 10 cameras, 15 producers. Everybody's sort of trying to, no one's telling you what to say, but they're kind of poking you a little bit and kind of putting a little bug in your ear about so-and-so said something. So, I tried to do my own dates. I said, I want to go paddle boarding. I want to get on a sailboat. And I couldn't do it. They're like, no, you're not doing it. You're going, where was my date? My date was like some kind of party or something. And dancing, I think. And I found it very difficult. And this is what I realized is that I like being in control of setting up the date. Like last night I had a date. We went to see jazz, actually a blues band play at the Flatiron Room. Really cool, really great environment. It was just, and I've been there before. So I just know what the last couple of weeks I went to the Russian Turkish bathhouse, go with a date to the Turkish bathhouse. You do the platza where they hit you with the branch, and it's just great. If you haven't done it before, to bring someone, and it's kind of down and dirty, and it's not like a super fancy spa. It's an old Russian bathhouse. And then go to Mogador Cafe, which is a place that's on St. Mark's in the East Village, down and dirty, but it's been there for 45 years. It's just a top-notch, really great date. And I'm sort of curating it. So I'm there and I'm on somebody else's date, essentially. And I'm not digging it. I'm like, that's some stupid luau dance. You tip your hat and you're doing like a line dance and all the people, very nice, but they're showing you their tradition and I'm like, I don't go to resorts. I don't go on cruise ships. I go skiing or mountaineering. My honeymoon was mountaineering, which is probably why I'm divorced. We climbed a 21,000 foot mountain called Illimani in Bolivia or Peru. I think it's in Bolivia, but we were back and forth between Bolivia and Peru. But so they curate this date, and I'm like, this is so stupid, and I'm not enjoying it. And they got in the cameras, like, I don't know, how do you? Some of the guys did it very well, actually. Earl was great. Like, you would never know that he had a camera, and he's talking, sentimentals with Shannon. I didn't even have an opportunity. I was going after Luann. Luann, lived in New York. I live in New York. She's a countess. I was like, yeah, I've never been with a countess. Let me check that out.
It's interesting. Hey, it's a good play, right? It's a good play. But like when you're going through all that, I'm just thinking of this one thing, right? It's called control, right? And when we control situations, for the audience to really understand is like when we try to hold on too tightly and we don't go with the flow or let things happen as they may, because we can only control what we can, right? And in your case there, you're trying to control the date, which took away from your experience on the actual date, right? Because it didn't line up with what you wanted to do. And so it's just interesting to me because we do that as human beings all the time, right? I'll try to control a situation, which then takes me out of the presence of the moment. And so whatever's happening, I'm judging that every freaking second. I'm like, this sucks. This is not what I want to do. And from that point on, I'm never bringing my full self to that moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I did step up, and I was not like a little, brat. Like I don't want to do this. It was fine. I was there. It is what it is. So I am pretty good with being able to adapt and play along. But yeah, I think it did set me off a little bit, and I just was not myself. I just could not, and then I don't know if it was that or the cameras. I'm sure it was a combination of both. And I got to say, there wasn't great chemistry with any of the women. I liked them all. They were great. They were fun, friendly. I still talk, as I mentioned, a lot, and I get together a lot with Shannon when she's in town, and Luann. Luann and I have been out in the city, 2 or 3 times since we got back, and we communicate a bit. So it was super fun. I always talk about the guys. I started dating Wale because he and I connected. I didn't. Oh my God, is that going to go sideways? I enjoyed hanging out with the guys. We'd work out every day. I enjoyed hanging out with the women. We worked out every day as well. There wasn't great connection. I think we all tried, or I tried, and I think they,
Rinse takes your laundry and hand delivers it to your door, expertly cleaned and folded. So you could take the time once spent folding and sorting and waiting to finally pursue a whole new version of you. Like Tea Time You. Or this Tea Time You. Or even this Tea Time You.
So did you hear about Dave?
Or even Tea Time You.
So update on Dave.
It's up to you. We'll take the laundry. Rinse. It's time to be great.
But yeah, I did try, and I was not, I don't think it showed that it wasn't my idea to go to do a line dance on my date. I'd rather be on a paddleboard or do something active like that, on a sailboat or a romantic sailboat. Let's, grab and turn let's, jibe, let's tack, we got a breeze coming. And look, maybe that says something. Maybe I need distraction in my life. So I'll call myself out on that. I'm sure some of the women, if they watch this, would be, oh yeah, I know his type. He's got to be doing something. Yeah, maybe. But
yeah, the one thing, the overarching theme here, right, as we land the plane and end the show, is you're bringing up some really good points of your experience on the show on Love Hotel. But the one thing that I'm really hearing and feeling is, although, things on the show didn't work to your way or how you'd want them to play out, you built relationships, man. With the 2 women that live in, New York, you still get together with them. You're friends with them. You built relationships with the guys. You now have people in your life that you didn't have prior. And I think what needs to be really understood about all of this is to not judge a situation or judge an experience, but to see what you can build from it. And you've clearly done that, man. It served your life. Maybe didn't bring you love, but it brought you connection in other ways. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Luann would be like, come to this party. You'll like my girlfriend. So I was like, great. And we would go, and, it was, all fancy people. Maybe that's the problem. I'm not that fancy. So I don't like fancy stuff I would be a little like, this is way too fancy. What, you know?
I'm a simple dude too, man. I don't like, too much fanciness, but it's just at some point in time, I'm going to have to dive into that and understand like, hey, maybe this is here to serve me just a little bit. So,
that's right.
But dude,
yeah.
I just appreciate chatting with you today. I know a lot about you, and it's nice to see somebody that's so free and open to adventure and to do things that are uncomfortable in life, because again, life is all about doing the things that we don't really want to do, right? In order for us to grow as a person. And you are a poster boy of that, right? You're flying off a cliff.
Not to interrupt, but this is exactly that. Like, I would love to sit down with you and spend an hour and on one of your podcasts, because they're kick-ass, and talk about my career and my just my life and not Love Hotel. So when you said Love Hotel, I was a little like, I don't know if I want to talk about Love Hotel. It's not necessarily a highlight, but it is current. It's a current event. So get it. And it kind of freaked me out. And I said, fuck it, let's do it. I want to do it because I want to be, in this situation. And thank you for, sort of bringing out some stuff. I got to go talk to my shrink. Damn it.
Well, hey man, that's what I do, right? That's what we do. But I appreciate you, man. And I'm looking forward to staying in contact with you. I have your info on social, so I'll reach out, and man, maybe one day when I'm up in NYC, we can get together. I got family up there, so it'd be good to meet you in person. And man, keep doing what you do. And I just appreciate you, man, so much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Absolutely. And for the audience, understand that you can only control what you can control. And what will serve you best in life is submitting to certain things that are uncomfortable, because you do not know what you're leaving on the table if you don't do that. So share this episode with someone you know, love, and trust, who needs to hear the message. And I encourage you guys that have listened to go back and listen to it again and hear the messages that are buried inside of this conversation, and don't take it for face value just about a reality dating show, because it's been much, much more. And until next time, guys, stay determined.
Shawn French, what up? This one luck, I let the pain inspire me. I put my all in everything I'm doing. Up until it's done, I'm me for the entirety. I put it in overtime, I be working. Just know I'ma go for mine, cause I earned it. They watching, I know it's time. I confirmed it. A whole society determined to support.
Next up is a little song from CarMax about selling a car your way.
You wanna sell those wheels, you wanna get a CarMax instant offer.
So fast.
Wanna take a sec to think about it.
Or like a month.
Wanna keep tabs on that instant offer.
With Offer Watch.
Wanna have CarMax pick it up from your driveway. Get it done today. You wanna do
So, wanna drive? CarMax. Pickup not available everywhere. Restrictions and fee may apply.